Welcome back, Focus learners, to another explainer. Today, we're diving into something really cool, the science and evolution of affirmations. Now, I know what you might be thinking, woo-woo spirituality, right? Maybe a little toxic positivity? Well, stick with me. We're actually going to look at how this whole concept evolved from its metaphysical roots into a rigorous, scientifically validated psychological tool. We're literally going to see how the exact words you say to yourself can physically rewire your brain and alter the trajectory of your life.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the roots of positive thinking, dive into the neuroscience of affirmations, look at closing the achievement gap, talk about when affirmations actually backfire, and wrap up with practicing values-based affirmations. Let's get right into it. So Section 1, Roots of Positive Thinking, from New Age to Mainstream. Let's unpack the cultural baggage that shapes exactly how we view positive thinking today. If you grew up in the 90s, you absolutely remember this. For the longest time, pop culture treated affirmations like a total punchline. I mean, think of Saturday Night Live. You had the character Stuart Smalley looking in the mirror, giving himself those incredibly soft, kind of hokey mantras. It basically framed the whole concept as a joke, right? Something people did when they were just completely out of touch with reality and, honestly, a little bit cringe. But to understand how this gained so much real traction in the first place, we have to look at figures like Louise Hay. Born in 1926, she overcame some truly severe childhood trauma. Eventually, she found the first Church of Religious Science and really grabbed onto this idea that positive thinking could literally heal the mind and the body. She even famously claimed to have healed her own cervical cancer through positive affirmations and therapy. And, well, she went on to sell over 40 million books pushing these concepts to the mainstream. So this timeline gives us a really brilliant look at the evolution here. We start way back with the metaphysical New Thought movement in the 19th century. Then we move through religious science in the 1920s, explode into pop culture with Hay's massive publishing empire in the 80s, and finally, where things get really interesting, arrive at today, a state of rigorous, actual neurobiological scrutiny. Which brings us to Section 2, the neuroscience of affirmations, rewiring the brain. Let's see how this spiritual concept became a measurable cognitive behavioral tool. Okay, so to understand how this actually works, we have to talk about neuroplasticity. That's the brain's incredible ability to form and reorganize synaptic connections based on new experiences. Think of repeating positive affirmations, literally like building a muscle. You're using neuroplasticity to strengthen the specific neural pathways associated with optimism and self-worth. You are actually, physically, rewiring the structure of your brain over time. It's wild. And here is the hard data to back that up. Recent fMRI studies show that when people practice self-affirmations, various specific brain regions literally light up. Look at the ventral striatum, that's central to our brain's reward system, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which processes our sense of self-worth. Both of these show dramatic increases in activity. This proves, definitively, that affirmations aren't just feel-good cliches. They are actual biological triggers. And that leads us right into self-affirmation theory, developed by psychologist Claude Steele. Basically, this theory suggests that when our sense of competence or self-worth is threatened, focusing on our core values helps us maintain our self-integrity. It acts as a psychological buffer for your mind. It reduces the impact of stress, letting you maintain your problem-solving abilities even when the pressure is totally on. Moving on to Section 3, Closing the Achievement Gap, a real-world case study. Let's see how this brain science translates to massive real-world success. So middle school has this implicit tracking system, right? Students are essentially sorted into either a remedial track or a college readiness track. And once you're on a track, it heavily dictates your future. Well, researchers published a landmark study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and they discovered something amazing. A brief psychological intervention, literally just a few 15-minute self-affirming writing exercises during this critical transition period, can act as a powerful trigger and channel mechanism. It effectively deflected minority students away from that stigmatizing remedial track and channeled them right onto a fast-paced college readiness path. And the results? Incredibly, this longitudinal study found that the minority students who received the affirmation intervention in middle school were over 5 times more likely to enroll in the most selective, highly competitive colleges compared to their peers in the control group. 5 times. The broader numbers are just as staggering. For African American students in the study, those simple affirmation exercises boosted the overall probability of enrolling in any college from 78% in the control group to a massive 92%. Just think about that for a second. A series of 15-minute values-based writing exercises in middle school literally closed the achievement gap and dramatically boosted college enrollment rates 7 to 9 years later. That is the sheer power of protecting a student's self-integrity when they feel threatened by negative stereotypes. But, Section 4, when affirmations actually backfire, the trap of toxic positivity. We definitely need some nuance here, because approaching this from the classic pop culture perspective can actually do way more harm than good. So, do affirmations always work? The short answer is no, they really don't. In fact, if you don't actually believe the words you're saying, personal mantras can totally backfire. Let's say someone has really low self-esteem, and they force themselves to repeat, "I am a lovable, perfect person." Well, that can actually remind them of all the deeply painful reasons they feel they aren't lovable. It just highlights this huge gap between what they're saying and what they actually believe inside, leaving them feeling significantly worse. The contrast here is absolutely crucial. Think of a generic, unbelievable statement like, "I am the best at everything I do." It's like a fragile balloon just waiting to be popped. It's toxic positivity, and your brain just rejects it flat out. But a grounded, realistic affirmation based on your actual values, something like, "I am constantly learning and improving," that's more like a deeply rooted plant. It fosters real resilience because it aligns with a genuine growth mindset, not some fake perfectionist one. And the science backs this up. Studies confirm that writing self-affirmations from the perspective of your core values is way more effective than generic self-praise. If you value your loved ones, affirming something like, "My friends and family are a powerful and positive impact in my life," actually activates those exact reward centers in the brain we talked about earlier. Grounding your self-worth in something real makes it unshakable. All right, Section 5, practicing values-based affirmations, your daily blueprint. Let's get into the practical steps of how to do this. So, how do we practically apply this science to our daily routines? First, you gotta identify what actually matters to you, your real core values. Second, craft statements that are totally personalized and, most importantly, believable to you. Third, make it a daily habit. Maybe work it into your morning routine or while you're looking in the mirror. And fourth, combine it with deep breathing or mindfulness, because pairing affirmations with a calm physiological state really maximizes those neuroplastic effects we want. Just remember, this isn't an instant magic cure. It's not some spell you cast to fix all your problems overnight. It's a scientifically backed, long-term strategy. By being consistent and keeping it realistic, you are slowly but surely strengthening the neural pathways that build self-esteem, improve your emotional well-being, and help you navigate life's challenges without losing yourself in the process. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on today. Now that you know the science, you've seen the brain scans, and you understand the massive real-world impact, what core value will you affirm today to change your trajectory? Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, focused learners. Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.